Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, unable to move, your heart pounding as you realize you're completely helpless? That's exactly what happened to me, and it's a night I'll never forget. I remember opening my eyes and instantly feeling a heavy weight on my chest, my body frozen, my voice trapped inside me. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I noticed something in the corner of my room, shaped, darker than the shadows, with eyes that seemed to glow and never blinked. I tried to convince myself it was just a bad dream, but the fear was too real, the cold sweat on my skin too convincing. The demon in the corner didn't move, didn't speak, but I could feel its gaze burning into me, as if it was waiting for something, waiting for me to break. For years, I've heard stories about sleep paralysis and the nightmares that come with it, but nothing prepared me for the horror of being watched all night by something I couldn't explain. In this video, I'm going to share every detail of the fear, the hallucinations, the desperate struggle to wake up, and the lingering question. Was it all just a nightmare, or did I really see the demon in the corner? If you've ever had a true scary sleep nightmare story or felt something watching you in the dark, you're not alone. Let's dive into the nightmare together. It started as a completely normal evening. I finished my dinner, watched some TV, and scrolled through my phone for a while, catching up on messages and social media. There was nothing unusual about the day, no bad news, no strange feelings, just the usual routine. I remember feeling a little more tired than usual, maybe because I'd had a long week at work, but I didn't think much of it. I brushed my teeth, turned off the lights, and got into bed, expecting to drift off to sleep like any other night. The room was quiet. The only sound was the faint hum of the fan and the occasional car passing by outside. I checked the time on my phone, 2:13 a.m. I set my alarm for the morning, put my phone on the nightstand, and closed my eyes. As I lay there, I felt a strange sense of calm, almost as if the world had slowed down for a moment. I had no idea that this ordinary night was about to turn into the most terrifying experience of my life. The first sign that something was wrong came as a subtle shift in the atmosphere. I woke up suddenly, not sure what had disturbed me. The room felt colder and the air seemed heavier, almost as if something was pressing down on me. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. My arms and legs felt like they were made of stone, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't lift a finger. Panic started to creep in as I realized I was completely paralyzed. My heart was racing and I could hear the blood pounding in my ears. I tried to call out for help, but my voice was trapped inside me, unable to escape. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own frantic breathing. I stared up at the ceiling, willing myself to wake up, to move, to do anything. But nothing happened. That's when I noticed the shadows in the corner of the room seemed darker, deeper, almost alive. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but the fear was too real to ignore. As the minutes ticked by, the reality of my situation began to sink in. I was trapped in my own body, unable to move or speak, completely at the mercy of whatever was happening to me. My mind raced with questions. Was I dreaming? Or was this really happening? I tried to remember everything I'd ever heard about sleep paralysis, hoping to find some comfort in the knowledge that it was just a temporary state, but the fear was overwhelming. My eyes darted around the room, searching for anything familiar, anything that could anchor me to reality. But all I could see were the shadows, growing longer and darker with each passing second. I could feel my chest tightening, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The sense of helplessness was suffocating, and I started to wonder if I would ever be able to move again. Every second felt like an eternity, and the terror only grew as I realized I was completely alone, trapped in a nightmare I couldn't escape. That's when I saw it. In the darkest corner of the room, a shape began to form. A figure, tall and thin, with eyes that glowed like embers in the night. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, a shadow cast by the street lamp outside. But as I stared, the figure became clearer, more defined. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The demon stood motionless, its gaze fixed on me, never blinking, never moving. Its presence was overwhelming, filling the room with a sense of dread that was almost tangible. I tried to look away, to close my eyes, but I couldn't. I was forced to watch as the demon watched me, its eyes burning into my soul. I could feel its gaze, cold and unfeeling, as if it were studying me, waiting for something. The fear was paralyzing, and I knew in that moment that I was not alone. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as I lay there, trapped in bed, the demon never taking its eyes off me. Every minute felt like an hour, every second stretched out by the relentless fear that gripped me. The demon didn't move, didn't speak, but its presence was suffocating. I could feel its gaze following me, even when I tried to look away. My mind began to play tricks on me. I thought I saw its shadow moving along the walls, reaching out toward me. I heard whispers, soft and unintelligible, as if the demon was trying to communicate with me in a language I couldn't understand. The room felt colder, the air heavier, and I started to wonder if I would ever see the morning light again. I tried to focus on my breathing, to calm myself, but the fear was too strong. All I could do was wait, hoping that the nightmare would end. As the night dragged on, the psychological torment intensified. I began to hallucinate, seeing faces in the shadows, hearing voices that weren't there. The demon's eyes seemed to glow brighter, its presence growing stronger with each passing moment. I felt as if I was losing my grip on reality, slipping further and further into the nightmare. My thoughts became jumbled, memories from my childhood mixing with the terror of the present. I remembered stories I'd heard about sleep paralysis demons, about people who had never woken up. The fear of being trapped forever was overwhelming. I tried to remind myself that it was just a dream, that I would wake up soon, but the line between reality and nightmare had blurred. The demon in the corner was all I could see, all I could think about. It had become the center of my world, and I was powerless to escape. Desperation set in as I realized I had to do something, anything, to break free from the paralysis. I focused all my energy on moving a single finger, willing my body to respond. It felt like trying to lift a mountain, every muscle straining against an invisible force. I tried to scream, to call out for help, but my voice was still trapped inside me. The demon watched, unmoving, as if it was enjoying my struggle. I remembered reading that sometimes, if you could just move one part of your body, the spell would break. I concentrated on my hand, my toes, anything that might respond. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. It was impossible to tell. Finally, I felt a twitch, a small movement in my finger. Hope surged through me, and I focused harder, willing my body to wake up. The effort was exhausting, but I refused to give up. I knew that if I didn't break free, I might never wake up at all. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The first rays of morning light crept into the room, and the demon vanished without a trace. I could move again, my body no longer paralyzed. I sat up in bed, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. The room looked the same as always, but the memory of the nightmare lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that the demon was still there, watching from the shadows, waiting for another chance to return. The fear stayed with me all day, a constant reminder of the night I spent trapped in my own body, watched by something I couldn't explain. I still wonder if it was just a dream, or if the demon in the corner was real. All I know is that I'll never forget that night, and I hope I never have to experience it again. As the sun rose and the nightmare finally faded, I was left with a lingering sense of fear and 1,000 questions that may never be answered. Was it all just a trick of the mind, a product of sleep paralysis and exhaustion? Or did I truly see something supernatural watching me from the corner of my room? No matter how much I try to convince myself it was just a dream, the memory of those glowing eyes and that suffocating presence still haunts me. If you've ever experienced something similar, you know how real the terror can feel and how hard it is to shake off the feeling that you're not alone in the dark. I hope sharing my story helps others realize they're not alone in their nightmares, and that sometimes the scariest things we experience are the ones we can't explain. If you have your own true scary sleep nightmare stories, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more real horror stories and nightmares every week. And remember, next time you wake up in the middle of the night, don't be too quick to look in the corner. You never know what might be watching you.